All right, with us now, Amisha Cross, the Democratic strategist, and Marc Short, the former chief of staff to Vice President Mike Pence. And Marc, this is the president's entire legislative agenda right now, this tax and spending bill. And Musk has been critical of the president's tariff policy, which is basically his entire economic agenda. That's a big part of what President Trump is pushing, that Elon Musk is now very publicly saying, I'm not for.
Sure, John. I do think, look, the sausage making can look like the big, beautiful bill isn't so beautiful. I think we have to keep in mind that in the House, the margin for Republicans is so small that I think Mike Johnson doesn't get due credit for people who said he wouldn't be able to get the votes to be speaker. He wouldn't be able to avoid a shutdown. Now he got this tax bill through. And when you do that, sometimes you have to give favors to different constituencies to get it. I imagine the Senate will probably whittle it down some. But, you know, there's parts of this I'm very excited to see the tax bill moving forward. I think the president's trade agenda is indefensible.
I'll say it as a purely political endeavor, what Mike Johnson did was impressive.
Yeah.
Again, objectively getting that through was an impressive political feat. But to have Musk criticizing it on its substance, and this is not some minor policy that the president is pushing. This is his entire legislative policy.
Sure, and I could pick apart pieces of it that I don't like either, John. I think a lot of Republicans could. I think that some of the expansions of the SALT deductions is egregious. But
careful, you're in New York.
I know. But at the same time, I think the consequence of a $5 trillion tax increase on the American people is too much for Congress not to get this done.
Amisha, I want to play some sound just to stay on Elon Musk for a second, because Musk, it was a couple weeks ago where he said he was going to get out of the political giving business, and he had a soundbite that's been played, but the end of it I want you to pay attention to. Listen.
In terms of political spending, I'm going to do a lot less in the future.
And why is that?
I think I've done enough. Well, if I see a reason to do political spending in the future, I will do it. I do not currently see a reason.
It was that last line. I do not currently see a reason. Now, I don't have any particular insider sources inside Musk world, but I do have my eyes and ears. And that sounded like he was saying he doesn't like what he is seeing right now in politics, particularly from the White House, which he's been so supportive of.
Well, I think there are two things at play here. As we can all recall, when Elon Musk went to Wisconsin a couple months ago, that blew up in his face really badly. The Elon Musk who's able to showcase his money, that is his calling card when it comes to primarying and creating challengers for Republicans who don't side with him in the Trump administration. He is making sure that people know that he's still there, that he still has a certain level of influence, but he's also trying to reel in some of the blow that he got, not only from investors at Tesla and some of those who are on the board, but also watching his own approval ratings tank. And I think that for him, that was a big hit. He doesn't agree with the big, beautiful bill. There are several parts of it that he finds problematic. But I also think that the big, beautiful bill, to Mark's point, is going to be significantly different by the time that it gets through the Senate. For Elon Musk, I think that some of this is personal. He has seen a strained relationship between him and Trump based on some basic disagreements on policy issues, but he's also someone who cares about his bottom line. And he doesn't agree with the moves that Trump specifically has taken when it comes to these tariffs.
So, Amisha, I want to shift gears now to the president and the administration's repeated attacks on Harvard. That has been going on for a few weeks now. Yesterday, there was an added twist where the State Department suspended or put a pause on scheduling appointments for student visas. This could be a huge deal for any international student who applied and was admitted to an American university. And of course, that just happened, and now you're enrolling and paying. If you can't get your visa, you can't come in the fall. And if you can't get an appointment, you may not be able to get your visa. What do you think the implications here are?
Well, two things. Trump is basically blowing smoke to what the courts have just told him in terms of the lack of ability to deny access to colleges and universities from immigrant students. But to your point, without a visa, you kind of can't get here. So I think that he's trying to skirt the law and the ruling that just came down just a few days ago. But with that being said, he is also really trying to stick it to Harvard. Trump has a few things going. He wants to put Democrats on the board with having to defend elite institutions in a country where the working class versus elitism warfare is very real. But on the other hand, he is also someone who does not believe in the higher education system writ large. This is a lot bigger than Harvard. This is an attack on what is seen as a value system for many Americans when it comes to job accessibility, when it comes to workforce. The majority of jobs still require you to have a higher education degree to walk through the door. He is trying to restructure what that looks like for America. And Harvard, unfortunately, is the main target because Harvard pushed back against him early on. Yeah. They did not fall for the okie doke. They did not sign up like what we saw Columbia do. They're somebody who has said that we are going to fight back. And he's trying to see how long that fight can last and working to weaken them every day.
First on the policy, Mark, and then have at it on the politics. But first on this policy, what are your thoughts?
Well, look, I think that ultimately, I think Harvard's going to win in court. But I think on the politics of it, I think the reality is, Alicia said, that the president's forced Democrats to defend an elitist school that has a $53 billion endowment that's teaching black, queer, feminist negotiation in the law school, and the undergraduate school is teaching about the correlation between white supremacy and capitalism. I think the average American, why are we giving dollars to this school? And I think there are plenty of other public institutions that would take the research dollars. So politically, he knows what he's doing. I think he'll probably lose in court. On the students, John, I think that, look, America is a place that we want to bring in the best and the brightest. It helps America. So I think it's also probably take a pause because there's been a lot of international students that have been part of the anti-Semitic rallies on campuses. But I think they have to be careful about this because ultimately we don't want to lose the ability to continue to attract the brightest and the best students to America.
This is a little bit of a bathwater problem, right? I mean, you're throwing a lot of bathwater with the babies potentially by pausing this application process.
Potentially. I think we have to see how long this plays out.
All right, Marc, great to see you. Misha, thank you very much.